So when the camera's above me, I lose all that power I had when the camera was below me. This is also not a very good way to film because it's still an unequal standing between the audience and me, the talent in this case. So definitely make sure that you keep the tripod on an equal plane with the person that you're interviewing. Unless, for instance, you're doing a campaign ad and you want to empower your talent or the candidate, or you want to decrease the amount of perception of them. You know, you would show much more downward facing shots like this, put them below the viewer. Another thing you often see when people are making videos is bad lighting. Now, I can't even tell you how key lighting is to good video. You're in a dark room, you put a light on behind your head, and all of a sudden I'm a shadow puppet. You see this quite often, and it doesn't just happen with lights. The major problem is that people will often point the camera towards a window. And I don't know if you notice this, but the sun is probably infinitely brighter than any incandescent bulb you have in your house. So the idea that you somehow be exposed appropriately on the inside of a house when your camera is trying to expose for the sun outside your house, it causes major problems. And so this happens in schools all the time because a lot of classrooms have a giant bank of windows. And the person sets up the camera on one side of the classroom pointing towards the window, and then they start filming the teacher's desk, who happens to be in the corner where the windows are, because that's where teachers like to have their desks. And so it becomes a big problem. And so one of the things that you can do is either make sure you limit the light source behind you by, say, closing the shades, or don't point the camera out the window. Now, at first glance, all these cameras seem really good when you're filming in low light, and in reality they are, compared to maybe 5-10 years ago. But you'll still notice something, especially as people adopt more HD capable cameras, like the one I'm shooting this on, which is a Canon A30. The thing is with HD, it's a lot more pixels, but to keep the camera smaller for consumers, they put a lot of those pixels on a very small chip. And so what happens in low light, the chip doesn't have enough light to create the data it needs to produce the picture that's so large and pretty. And so what it does is actually starts adding grain to the picture, and you'll notice it in this. There'll be like a little shimmery snow effect that's going on, almost like I'm mixed with static that you would get when you're watching TV over the antenna. And so that's one thing of why it's very important to have really good light, because these cameras, even though they do record in low light, the picture loses a lot of its detail when you don't have a good light source. So the key to getting good light in your video is to actually turn on the lights. I know a lot of classrooms operate with half the ballast of lights turned on, so only half the fluorescence, but I pretty much assure you that it's the best practice to go into any room and turn on all the lights. I'm not going to get into the nuances of lighting, like the idea that what's natural to a human being is to have one side of your face more bright than the other, and you create that dynamic 3D view by kind of creating shadows on the person using lighting, and we're not going to get that advanced. But I pretty much guarantee you'll have the best results in the most well-lit room. Now if you're, say, filming teachers who are giving a presentation on a projector, it gets a little more complicated. How do you keep the lights down low enough that the students and the teacher can see the screen, while at the same time, you know, getting the type of video quality that you want? And so on a per case, you know, per scenario basis, you do have to make some compromises. Now, I'm down here with my vent on my floor. more to illustrate a point than anything, is that a lot of rooms and stuff have gratings and vents, and they're not necessarily in the floor like, say, mine is. They're up in the ceiling, and that causes a lot of problems because most of these cameras have top-mounted microphones. And so what happens is you position the camera under a vent, and the air conditioning or the heating comes on, and it directly blows air right on the microphone. And so this causes a lot of noise and a lot of problems for you because audio is pretty much half the experience when you're making a video. And so it's key that you're aware of your surroundings, that you're not sitting next to a water fountain that the condenser will turn on to cool the water and create a lot of noise, or under a vent or anywhere else. And so it's also best practice probably to wear headphones anytime you're recording video, because if you have headphones on, you hear what the camera's hearing. You can't really trust that it'll just work automatically. So I highly suggest doing that as well.